Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Lovely to see you all. Today, I've given the title of our talk, Understanding Yourself. It's based on the work of a wonderful scientist called Howard Gardner. And in the 1970s, Howard Gardner came up with the idea that all human beings have got multiple intelligences. And he found 8. And then he did more work and he found 9. Then he did more work and he found 10. And it is now recognized worldwide that all human beings, that you and I, everyone in this room, we have 10 completely separate intelligences. Now, if you've ever done NLP, you've probably heard of things like people are visual or auditory or kinesthetic. You might have heard of that. This is completely different. Nothing to do with that at all. In fact, in a way, this is far more important, far more important. So I want to take you through the 10 intelligences. I will show you the list first, and then I'll take you through each one of them. And I want to ask you 2 questions at the beginning. Right. First of all, let me show you the 10. Okay, and I'm hoping you can just see a list in front of you. Maybe someone can give me a thumbs up. Larissa can't. Oh, she can. Okay, right. So here are the 10 intelligences: language linguistic, logical mathematical, visual spatial, body kinesthetic, musical, interpersonal, intrapersonal, naturalistic, existential, and pedagogical. Now, we're going to go through these in more detail. But here's something interesting. Every one of us has got all 10 intelligences. So you here today, you have all 10. But every one of us will have 2 of those that are much, much stronger than the others. So as we go through them, I want you to think about yourself. And I want you to think, which 2 of these are stronger in you? Now, there's no right, there's no wrong. Every human being on the planet has this. I'm then going to ask you a question at the end, and the question is going to be, which of these intelligences is the highest paid in the world today? Which of these is the highest paid in the world? Interesting. Okay, so can you all see my PowerPoint? Yeah. Okay. So here we go. So these were discovered by Howard Gardner in the 1970s. I came across this work in the early 1980s, and I found it incredibly interesting. And when you know this, you can use this information to strengthen yourself, but also to understand. I mean, here's a question. Have any of you here ever thought that maybe the rest of the world is going in one direction and you're going in another? Has anyone ever felt that? Has anyone ever felt that lots and lots of people think in one way and you don't? You think in a different way? And it's made you feel as if there's something wrong with us, something wrong with you, you know? And you talk to people and they're all talking about how they feel about this or how they feel about that. And you're thinking, no, that's not how I feel at all. But maybe you don't want to say it because it makes you the odd one out. Well, hopefully, what we'll discuss today will give you the answer to lots of these thoughts and feelings you may have had. Okay. Before I do this, we live in a world where unfortunately, the world seems to value two of these intelligences above the other eight. And the two that the world seems to value right now are language-linguistic and logical-mathematical. What do I mean by that? Have any of you ever applied for a job? Of course you have. How do people assess you when you apply? Language-linguistic, mathematical-logical. They look at how well did you put your resume together. That's language-linguistic. How well do you speak at the interview? That's language-linguistic. How do you express yourself on paper when you're trying to describe yourself and your talents to a stranger in a company? And today, companies, organizations tend to value language-linguistic and mathematical-logical above the other eight, which is quite annoying, really. Quite annoying. But let's go through them one by one. So, language-linguistic. So people who have this as one of their dominant intelligences, they have skill with the spoken and written language. They enjoy reading, writing, talking, discussing, debating. They learn very well through note-taking and discussing things, verbal explanation. And some examples of careers that would be good for these people are journalists, lawyers, authors, poets, presenters, and there's many, many more, of course. Logical mathematical. These are people who are able to reason and analyze, and they work well with patterns. They enjoy, crossword puzzles, strategy puzzles, games, experiments. They're very comfortable with numbers, cause, effective thinking. At school, they do very well in mathematics. I didn't, by the way, so that's not one of my strong ones. To me, algebra was a completely different alien language, but they do very well in mathematics, arithmetic, and that type of thing. And examples of people who, if they're good at this, a good career would be programmers, engineers, analysts, chess players, scientists, and so on. Now, this is an interesting one. We call it visuospatial intelligence. People who can see the big picture. Now, my wife is very good at this. Let me give you an example. She can walk into a room in a house. Let's say years ago when we bought our current house, when we bought it, it was completely empty. The previous people had moved out. All the furniture had gone. Everything was empty. So we walked in on the first day, and my wife was able to go into each room, and she would say, I can see exactly how it will look when we have our curtains, our furniture, when we have our... So she could picture what it would look like when it was finished decorating or painting and so on. This is what we call visuospatial intelligence, the ability to see the big picture. People like this, they're good at images, shapes, mental pictures, drawing, visual arts, maps, diagrams, and they can imagine how things will look like in the future. Good examples would be architects, designers, pilots, photographers, artists. This is a wonderful intelligence to have. Absolutely wonderful. Next, we have body kinesthetic. I mean, have any of you ever watched the Olympics when it comes round every 4 years? And have you watched the gymnasts? And usually they're very young. Now, none of you will remember this name, but when I was much, much younger, there was a young Romanian girl called Nadia Comaneci, and she literally shocked the world. She was only I don't know, about 14 or something. And she was in the Olympics. And she was able to do things as a gymnast that had people standing in awe. And when you look at these men, young guys and girls who are top gymnasts, my goodness, they can do things with their bodies that just are awe-inspiring. So this is body kinesthetic intelligence. People who are very physical, they have a physicality about them. And they're very good at doing, touching, moving, coordination, balance, fine motor skills. Good example, dancers, professional dancers, athletes, actors, even surgeons would be good at this. Although I wouldn't want my surgeon dancing while he was operating on me, but that's a different conversation. Then we have musical intelligence. And we've all seen people who, even when they're incredibly young, they can sit at a piano and they can just learn musical scripts. They can just play almost intuitively. You know, and we all know famous men and women. You've all heard of people like Mozart and Beethoven and all of those, but even all the modern musicians, some of them are incredible. And they have a sensitivity within them, within their body. They have a sensitivity to rhythm, tone, sound. They can literally feel it within them. They love singing, playing instruments, composing, and of course, listening to music. They are able to memorize and learn things better with the accompaniment of music. And a good example, composers, musicians, singers, and people like sound engineers. Then we have interpersonal intelligence. People who can communicate well with others. Understanding and working well with other people. They're able to look at people and they can read their body language. They can listen to the tone of their voice. They can pick up on other people's emotions very accurately. Women tend to have this a little bit more than men, by the way. They're more empathetic. They're able to pick up on little nuances that maybe some people would miss. They're very good at teamwork, mentoring, helping with conflicts, being in the middle, mediating between two difficult parties. Good example, teachers, coaches, managers, counselors, and salespeople. Then we have intrapersonal, the ability to communicate with yourself. So interpersonal is the ability to communicate with others. Intrapersonal, the ability to communicate with yourself. Question, do you know anyone who, when they walk into a room, they have to put the radio on, they have to put television on, they have to put music, they have to put something on because they're not comfortable sitting quietly on their own in the silence? You ever come across anyone like that? They just have to have noise. They have to have something going on. Well, those people do not have a highly elevated intrapersonal intelligence. In those people, it's very low, right? They're not comfortable being, you know the expression, being in their own skin. They're not comfortable being in their own silence. So intrapersonal, they have a deep self-awareness and they have a good understanding of their own feelings. They very much enjoy journaling because journaling, although it's writing, involves thinking deeply about what do you want? How do you feel? Setting goals, reflection. They have a good sense of values, strengths, and limitations. Again, good examples are philosophers, writers, therapists, or people, ordinary people who are on a journey, a strong personal growth journey. They're just aware. These people are aware that there is more to life than they can just see and feel around them. They know that there's something deeper out there, and they search within. Then we have naturalistic intelligence, people who are very comfortable in nature, people who love being outdoors, being in nature. They love being among trees and plants and animals. They enjoy the outdoor experience, outdoor exploration in all weathers. A good example would be biologists, farmers, environmentalists, people who just like hiking, people who just like walking out in the fresh air, gardeners, people who enjoy being out in their garden. Existential intelligence. Interesting. This is an actual intelligence that we have. The ability to reflect on the big questions in life, who am I? Where did I come from? Why am I here? Where am I going afterwards? Do I have a mission? Do I have something I'm meant to be doing here? These are the big questions. Some people, they love thinking about that. Other people, they're more interested in their next burger and fries. They're more interested in the next reality TV show. They would never spend time asking themselves these questions. But this is a great thing. Reflecting on the big questions, the meaning and purpose of life. These people enjoy deep conversations, theology, discussing ethics, philosophy. They think about the universe, the big picture. And again, who would this be typical of? Well, writers, counselors, philosophers, spiritual leaders. And so, again, a very important intelligence. Then we come to this one. Pedagogical, which is a funny word, strange word. Teaching is better. And people who are teachers, people who are able to effectively help others to learn. They're able to take something complex and break it down into clear, simple, understandable steps. They check for understanding. Good examples are teachers, trainers, coaches, mentors, and parents. Parents, of course, learn to do this a lot. So, bringing it all together, everyone here has all 10 of these intelligences. But most human beings, 2 of those will be stronger than the others. Now, the good news is you can actually strengthen every single one of your intelligences. Every one of them. You're not stuck with where you are. You can change, you can focus on 1 or 2 and work at increasing it within you. So I'm finishing off with these couple of questions. And you don't have to answer this, but I want you to answer it in your own mind. Which of these do you think are your top 2? Which of these are your top 2? The second question is, and I would like a response, you can talk or put it in the chat. Which of these do you think is the highest paid in the world today? Anyone got an idea? So in the chat. So logical, mathematical, mathematical again. Logical. Yeah. Linguistic, interpersonal, logical. Okay, I'll help you. Now, you always get exceptions. You know, you get a lot of people in the music industry who are pop stars who make an absolute fortune, but that's not representative of the world in general. No, it's interpersonal. The ability to communicate with others. People who have the ability to communicate with others, with the power of their words, their language, their emotions, they can reach out deep into the hearts of other people and they can touch them. They can influence them. They can change their thinking. They can change their feelings. They can change their actions. These are the highest paid people in the world today. People who've got great communication skills. So knowing that, you now also know that you can increase any of these intelligences. You can work at making them stronger, better, more effective within you. And hopefully it'll help as a guideline on the months and the years to come. When you're sitting down with lots of other people and you look around, you can start to identify them. Oh, she's language linguistic. Oh, they're naturalistic. Oh, they're musical. You can start to identify people and identify yourself. That's the most important job. Identify yourself. Which are your two strongest? And are there any of the others that you would like to increase? And if there are, you can set about doing that. It's very easy to increase all of them. So I'm finished now. So any questions on anything we've covered today or any thoughts? No, no one's got any thoughts, no feelings. Okay, well, listen, have a wonderful day, all of you. Have a fantastic time. Um, I will be available by email over the days and weeks to come, but I won't be able to do too many of these because lots of traveling. So look after yourself, spend time with the people you love. Take care, everyone.